The biggest companies I had worked at before Electronic Arts in Canada had a few hundred employees, maybe 400 maximum people. While 400 people seemed like a big company to me then, EA was over 10,000 people. And later Microsoft, where I worked, had over 50,000 people just in the Seattle, Redmond, Washington area. And they had another 50,000 employees internationally. And all that again in contractors. Microsoft had crazy more staff than even Electronic Arts. It was totally different working in a huge company. So, learning to work within mega corporations was vastly different than working for small companies. My education in working for massive companies was often from my manager and mentor, Tony Lamb. And later, also assigned coaches by Human Resources and Worldwide Leadership. And I had leadership and public relations and business training courses, events, and both internal and external contracted executive coaches. Tony Lamb, my direct manager at that time, once went to a whiteboard. He drew a big box, and then he drew circles all over it, and he asked, "Those are rocks and landmines. You want to get to the other side, but there is no straight line through all the rocks and landmines. How do you get there in a straight line without hitting a rock or a landmine?" The answer, of course, to me was to go below or over them. He would then say there might be another answer, which is just to refuse the directions, that you cannot go around, and therefore you could swerve and go around them. He told me that I should always challenge the rules and the very problem itself, that I should strive to reframe problems in ways that benefit me and the team, and at least mitigate threats or harms that we might otherwise encounter. It was obvious stuff, but hearing it over and over and over made it stick. I did modify my approach to problems. I took more time to consider and evaluate the risks and the threats and identify possible alternatives and other mitigations. I became much more strategic because of Tony's mentorship sessions with me. One of the funniest nuggets that I recall, sometimes the answer is not just outside the box. It is not even related to the box. The answer sometimes is an entirely different approach or a new problem, and to abandon the old one as simply unworkable, moving on and cutting your losses. Tony proved to be a great professional mentor for me, and I believe that he was instrumental in my growing and rising quickly within the mega publisher corporate world. Like I said, Tony Lamb was my manager for many years at Electronic Arts. He was a junior engineer turned management himself early on, and he rose to Chief Operating Officer when I was Chief Technology Officer. He was an impressive corporate strategist and communicator. He was patient, and he waited for people to make mistakes, and then expose them so widely and visibly that they would fall from favor, and Tony would rise one more rung in the corporate ladder of over 10,000 employees. Tony's journey was a long corporate climb, but he did get to overseeing almost 2,000 people before he left Electronic Arts to join a venture capital firm where he made more money than most people will likely earn or spend in their entire lifetimes. Tony always told me that EA executive management loved me, but that I would never be in the Whitehouse because I was just too straightforward and because I told things the way they were. He said that executives must lie and massage the truth so that it was palatable. He insisted that executives had to fabricate hysteria to motivate people during doldrum times, and conversely drive calm to ease panic during tumultuous, risky times. Tony believed my being honest translated to staff not being supported by management, the way they should be. I was putting on the team the stresses that I was supposed to buffer from them. He stressed people are rarely equipped to deal with the stress, which is why managers who are better at it are there to protect them. But I believed the opposite. I believed telling the whole truth was far better, and the team could unite and rally and overcome together such adversity. Tony and I did not agree, obviously, in how executives should manage, massaging the truth or telling the truth. He insisted repeatedly that my approach would hurt morale and limit the company, and that is why executives did not want me in the White House, where my candor would be visible to the entire company as a final word leader. Working as a technology leader, even a tech exec, my role was marginalized at Electronic Arts as a mad scientist or the oddball genius for any public appearance or when I had an outwardly announced contrary opinion. Executive management always made sure to put me in a place of development authority, but without public or outward voices. Much like a few good men, they had the luxury of not knowing the challenges and the difficulties of developing games under tight deadlines and limited resources, late into the night, 6 or more days a week, sometimes without vacations, for 1 or 2 years at a time. They never wanted to know the truth, how hard things were, or how much staff struggled and suffered to succeed, so that executives could go home at 5 p.m., 5 days a week, and park their 3rd, 4th, or 5th collector car in the corporate car park's executive row. I had no inclination of surrendering my honor and my integrity and not saying things the way they were. And so I was and always have been relegated to the bowels of development and disinvited from the White House, executive management, and corresponding public speaking events, even though I am an excellent presenter, as I regularly did TED Talk style presentations within EA to the developers in the bigger theater. However, I did define my brand and rise in a splintered Electronic Arts organization. Our group was called Fusion, as we've talked about. It is not enough to be talented. The wealthy are paid more because they appear wealthy, and thusly must be successful, and therefore they should be paid more, so they may bring that success to the company. And the circular pay loops over time, elevating people based on their projected appearance of success. Tony Lamb imparted that even the greatest of talent will be locked away in the back room or the lab to do great work, but out of sight, out of the public's eye, and out of the funding sponsor's view, unless they have executive presence and charisma, and they know how to play the game. Great talent will never be in leadership positions unless they adopt these executive rules. 1, be a clear, disciplined leader. Engineer, artist, designer, producer, marketing, finance, whatever, but a clear, disciplined leader. 2, have a personal brand, what you stand for and why people should believe in you. 3, you must look like an executive. The clothing, the car, your accessories, your attitude and demeanor. 4, you must show executive presence, eye contact, clear face and body language, commanding will words, never soft maybe words. 5, you must have charming, charismatic demeanor, smiles and frowns that invoke emotion. 6, you must confidently talk smoothly and persuasively, be articulate, succinct, but use hip words of the people to connect. And 7, artifacts. You must have items and things that reinforce your brand in your office and around. Everything adapted according to the industry and the level that you were targeting to be in. As example, dress like whatever executives dress like in your industry. A suit if in financial and venture capital roles, jeans and tees for developers, slacks and button shirts for marketing and sales. But whatever the dress code, you had to be well-dressed relative to its expectations. Similarly, you had to have a car proportionate to your position. And if you expected to be promoted, you needed to have the car of the next station. You could not buy too far above your station, however, or you would be branded as wasteful and insecure, which would limit your promotability. Indeed, there were rules to how much money you could visibly spend around your coworkers or your colleagues. You had to always dress and drive and present at the next career level, or you may never get promoted. Talent is not enough, period. Sadly. It was important to differentiate myself from others to advance my career. I relayed the same advice to people in personal one-on-one career discussions, ongoing throughout my career. People perceive you in a light of their making or one of your making, and so it is always better to craft how people see you than have them make something up about you that you may not appreciate. Take your brand into your own hands. If you overtly decide the image you want to project, then you can proactively dress and act the role that you want people to see you as. You can reinforce the image that you project by overlaying what car you drive, how you dress, what accessories you use and wear, what mobile devices and apps you use, what music you even listen to, where you live, what restaurants you frequent, where you vacation, and even if you drink coffee or alcohol, and how much and when and why. The list goes on and on. Everything that you say, that you do, and post on media defines you and what your brand is, and that tells people how to perceive you and what to think about you. You are your own chief marketing and public relations officer. It is your job to define your own brand and make sure people can understand and see it. Define and project your own brand. What did I do? I decided to be the young, cool rock star developer. My car, well, as a freelance developer, I showed my freedom and success by driving and showing off in a sports car with supercharged, plastered across each side of the car, and customized license plates like DQuest and later on Karma Entertainment. When I was nouveau riche, newly rich, and virtually a solo freelancer, I drove a customized SUV sports utility vehicle to show off my practicality, but still visible success. And in the corporate world of electronic arts, I drove a Mercedes SLK convertible and upgraded to a Mercedes SLK 55 black 400 horsepower convertible when working at Microsoft. My clothing. I typically wore all black jeans, tucked in button-down shirt with dark gray undershirt, and black socks with black leather, comfort, dressy sneakers. I donned the cool, young executive appearance, but in all black. Everyone talked about me, the man in black, Johnny Cash of games, the goth game guy, etc. It did not matter what they said because they all respected me, and talking about me got them to praise me and thus evangelize me throughout the company without even knowing it. Dressing the part, but dressing uniquely is key to having a brand that people notice and care enough about to talk about it. And of course, vice presidents revert to not standing out since their promotion is no longer about visibility. In fact, visibility might elevate expectations, which could result in their losing their positions or jobs entirely. Therefore, vice presidents and up often wore nice but nondescript, multicolored, boring jeans or slacks with button shirts that would hang outside their jeans, super casual. Again, there were rules of conduct and brand, no matter what level of job you were. Your brand should reflect your career and be appropriate to your professional industry. It is imperative to appear the role that you seek to be seen as. Cliché, be the role that you want to be promoted into. As above, make sure your brand is strong and clear and reinforces your image of success so that your management will see you as meriting promotions and greater responsibility. After all, you are so successful looking. Of course, you do have to have the talent to do the work, but talent alone is not enough. You need your brand and to appear successful. Offices are a complex part of your brand. If you have a choice of having an office or not, is the first big thing. Sit with the team or isolate and lord yourself over the team. It sounds awful, but isolation does create a rift emotionally, if not literally, physically between you and the team that you work with. I often chose to sit in cubicles whenever there was an office shortage or a demand conflict. I did not care where I sat, outside of how it affected my job. Over time, I was in many offices, however. I observed that there was an office hierarchy and how each office was perceived. Working in an open space is the starter. No dedicated place for you roles. Sharing a cubicle is the baseline. You are a professional now. Working in your own cubicle is success. You have arrived with your own identity. Working in a shared office, your promotion lost privacy, but it feels good because you're enclosed and you can potentially have a locked door. Honestly, that seemed like an odd upgrade to me. I would decline such an opportunity. And then there was working in your own office without windows. It was, I oversee the cave now. And working in a windowed office. I am a bigwig leader of leaders. Respect me. And there was working in a corner, windowed office, which meant I am so important that my ego extends outside these windows. And of course, there was the rare, double wide, double long, windowed office, which declared, I am a first name executive. Bow before me. Yeah, that was people that were known by their first names, like the conceit of Bill for Bill Gates, Steve for Steve Jobs, Satya for Satya Nadella, or Steve for Steve Ballmer, Warren for Warren Buffett. Their hubris and impact on civilization was madly outsized. My brand had organically defined itself for the most part. A straight shooter, genius, justified arrogance, but a bull in a china shop. Operates in an elite ivory tower, unapproachable, prefers direct line to his goals, but values elite talent above lesser talented people. That brand did not sound great to me when I heard it. I liked the first part, straight shooter, genius, justified arrogance, but I did not like the rest. Bull in a china shop, operates in elite ivory tower, unapproachable, prefers direct lines to goals, values elite talent above lesser talented people. Well, I set out to redefine aspects of my brand and double down on the elements that I liked while minimizing, if not excising, the elements that I did not like. I hung my Atari Games anniversary jacket as a conversation starter in my office. It screamed, I am old school, with luminary wisdom and knowledge from the legendary Atari games, while saying that I am hanging it here like just any old jacket, because I'm not conceited. You can talk to me. Similarly, I placed Hasbro's Littlest Pet Shop stuffed animals that had unlock codes in their dog tags that would unlock online games and pet backstories and apps and features. Like the Atari jacket, the stuffed animals kicked off discussions as to why would I have stuffed animals in my office. And people would be both impressed with the business model and the technology behind the toys, and that a technology leader was also attuned to the business models and strategies. And they were stuffed animals. And then there was a vision board on my wall full of things that emphasized what I wanted other people to think about me, about my brand. I made sure that people saw magazine clippings, company and video games and consoles and product logos, business articles about mergers and acquisitions. I wanted people to see the complex tapestry that I represented, that I was far more than a mere engineer. In the end, you really cannot define your brand, but you can define all the things that you think define it, or at least may imply what it is. And other people, they will define your brand in their heads and when they talk about you to others. And so I strove diligently to define and reinforce my brand. I am confident that I succeeded because I was a polarizing influence on people and staff. They loved or they hated me. There were few in between. I had stalwarts that would march into hell with me and for me. And there were the rare few that would dance on my grave given the chance. I was and am proud of my brand.